Hi, my name is Thais Gibson, and I'm the creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video, I want to go through with you how to use dating apps in a healthier way. So we're going to cover 4 key tips because this is a comment or a question that comes up like all the time inside PDS. And there's a lot of conversation about dating apps and how they're toxic or how they're valuable. And there's just all of this information. And I think just like anything else in life, we have like a relationship to things. And so, we can say that like cookies, junk food are healthy or unhealthy. But like if you have a cookie once a week, and that brings you joy and pleasure, and it stops you from being confined to super specific dietary restrictions, or, then that might be a good thing. But if we're eating junk food all the time, then that can be really, really toxic. So the same thing applies like to everything, our relationship to money, our relationship to relationships in general, and our relationship, of course, to dating apps. And this is what I want to break down and give you guys some really valuable tools in terms of like how to use these things so that you have control and power over your healthy relationship to the dating app as opposed to it controlling you. So the first thing I want to point out is that the way dating apps are designed are to create a little bit of a form of addiction. And not necessarily like in this really sinister way, but just the dopamine hit from like the novelty that takes place, that sort of curiosity. And it's going to really like all the colors, everything that's in there, it's really going to feed more so into people who have a high need for novelty, a high need for significance and validation, or a high need for love. And the people it's going to affect the most from that point forward and create the most suffering for are usually going to be the people who seek certainty the most and want that like commitment, closeness, love and connection, certainty, kind of basic human needs really strongly when you are basically entering into an environment that is conducive more so to people who are looking for, less certainty, novelty, sort of exploration, trying to figure things out. And so again, not everybody on dating apps is looking for that, but that's what the app is sort of designed around in general, or at least most apps, and just most stuff on social media in general. Like even when we look at Instagram, like there's a tremendous amount of research into the actual models behind this stuff. There's something called the hooked model in Silicon Valley. It's discussed a lot by somebody named Nir Eyal. And this whole discussion is about how do you get people engaged in an app, right? Like how do you really get people in through the door and then hooked on like looking at all the colors of Instagram, all the pictures, all the novelty, the scrolling, every little thing sort of creates that dopamine response. And that's really engaging. So when we pair that with the fact that different attachment styles can have like more love addiction, then, it can be a really interesting recipe for different people and will definitely affect people in different ways. So how do we like see that, know that that stuff exists and still have a healthy relationship to it? Well, you have to be intentional about what you want your relationship to a dating app to be like. So the very first thing is you want to set boundaries ahead of time with anything related to dating apps, super important. And this means like, what do you want in terms of your boundaries regarding the time that you will spend speaking to somebody and investing in somebody until you see them? When you'll agree to meet somebody in person, for some people, it's like, I need a lot of time to warm up to that. For other people, it's like, I don't want to be waiting around. So, you really have to get clear. What are your personal boundaries in that arena? Another thing is as you actually start building relationships out, like, how far will you travel to see somebody? And what will the exchange be? Will you always be the person traveling to see somebody else or taking the initiative to plan a date? Or will you have a boundary around how often you'll initiate something? Like, what are your boundaries in general? And the more clear and specific you are, like, after what time do you respond to messages? Like all these different things. This will just give you the opportunity to have a really healthy relationship because you know that you've developed a nice set of standards and boundaries that work for you on your terms that will help you have a more empowering set of interactions when you go into that arena. Number 2 is it's going to be really important to identify your needs ahead of time. Like, why are you on a dating app? What are the intentions? Is it just to meet people, to explore, to figure out more about who you are and what you want from relationships by just investigating different conversations and just striking up conversation with different people and sort of finding yourself through that? Or is it that you are really clear and intentional about wanting a long-term committed relationship? Like, people get on there for such different reasons, and if you don't know what yours are, then you're going to get lost in the mix of things. And either you're going to be on the end of something where somebody really wants something from you that you're not able to provide because you weren't intentional enough to realize that ahead of time, and then sort of carve out that territory for yourself so that you don't hurt other people, which is okay. Like, that we learn these things from coming to these videos and doing research now, but it's very beneficial that way, and it'll help you stay more like drama free. Or on the other end of things, you're really clear about wanting a committed relationship, but maybe you're in people pleasing mode, or you're afraid to share that or say that. And it doesn't have to be that that's like the first thing on your dating app profile, but it can be that that's something that you're really clear about wanting, and that you're not afraid to bring into conversation by the third or fourth date, and be clear about as you get to know somebody and actually decide, you know what, I'm interested in this person. And so, as I'm building out this interest, I'm not saying we have to be in a relationship tomorrow or even like months from now. I'm just saying that I do know that I want a committed relationship. And that is what I'm exploring and investigating, and sort of taking the time to figure out if somebody's a good match for me. And I want to put that out there because I don't want to waste anybody's time, especially not my own. So don't be afraid to like share where you stand, but you have to get intentional about that first. Number 3 is take time to vet people and be intentional about this. It's so easy for people to get like stuck in the trap of just going, the person's attractive, they're fun, they're interesting, I feel some chemistry, that's the person. But like, you want to be really clear. How often are you going to make decisions just from that place? It's a very limited amount of information. What about like what you want? Does the person show up? What are the difficult conversations you have to have when you're dating and put out there? Like, what are your needs? Like, is this person able to meet your needs? What is that person's needs? What are their expectations from a relationship? How do they expect things to go? And really like opening up dialogue so that you can get clear and you're taking the time to qualify somebody for your life. It's such a, our time is so precious. And if we do not, communicate clearly, like what our needs are early on, what's important to us, the things we like to do, the things we don't like, the things that are not okay with us. And if we're not vetting and seeing, is somebody like receptive to that? Does somebody understand that? Is somebody willing to show the respect to these things that are important to me or not? If we don't take the time to like really qualify a person, it's like that can be a huge waste for us as individuals. So really important. And then number 4, a really big thing, I think, just for the overall use of dating apps from all the different stories I hear, is to just set some boundaries around how much time you'll spend on it. I think it's really important. I think how we start our day and how we end our day really deeply impacts the subconscious mind. And if we are not in a place where we are actually intentional about like, do we get on that first thing in the morning? Do we spend all this time there? Is that how we're spending our evenings? Like, are we just getting hooked into like, this sort of dynamic that's not necessarily doing much for our mental, emotional well-being long term? And so if we're not intentional about how much time we spend, how we use that time, how being on a dating app actually affects us as an individual, then you can get into sort of limiting territory long term. So I just wanted to go through that in a whole bunch of detail. If you need help on being more intentional, on knowing what you want, we have an amazing course in depth you can try out for free for all about this. And it's called Strengthening Your Self-Identity. And it's understanding like your traits, the things you want to move towards, your limiting beliefs, the beliefs that you want to double down on because they're benefiting you, your needs, what you want from your future, creating a mission and vision statement for your life. It's a really good thing to dive into if you're not clear about what you want from dating, if you're not clear about what you want from your own personal life, you feel out of a sense of purpose, and you feel just unclear about the future. That course helps you discover all of that at a really deep subconscious level. So check that out if you'd like. Thank you so much for being here and for watching all of these videos. I really appreciate it. And we have such an amazing community here that I'm very, very grateful for. So thank you. And I will see you guys in tomorrow's video.